Hey YouTube, it's ICU, and today we're going to be taking a look at iOS 6 Beta 1. All right, now to start off, for those of you that don't know, yesterday Apple held their annual Worldwide Developers Conference where they announced iOS 6, and shortly after that they released iOS 6 Beta 1 to developers. So yes, unfortunately, if you're not a developer, you don't have your UDID or unique device identification registered with a developer's account, then you will not be able to install the iOS 6 beta, unfortunately. All right, now without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this on the new 3rd generation iPad as well as the iPhone 4S, and as I said, I'm just going to give an in-depth overview of all of the noticeable and major changes inside of iOS 6. And I also have an iPhone 4 right here that I'll use to kind of show you guys to compare and contrast the different user interfaces between iOS 5.1.1 and iOS 6 Beta 1. All right, now to start off, we're just going to go ahead and open up videos on all 3 of these devices. Now, as you can see, pretty much looks the same inside of the iPad application. However, over here on the iPhone version, we do have a slight change. It's a more blue color up at the top in the bar there for the user interface, and also too, the layout for the store is slightly different. On iOS 5, you have the store icon up here, whereas on iOS 6, you have the store icon down here. So that's not really too much of a difference, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other things. All right, next up, we're just going to go inside of music. And I actually don't have any content inside of my music library here, but as you can see, there is a drastic difference here over iOS 5. It's kind of a white layout as opposed to, as you can see, a black and blue layout here, and it definitely looks much sleeker than the iOS 5 variant over here on the left. Moving on over here, YouTube is slightly changed. As you can see, it is more blue than the iOS 5 variant, and also if you look up at the top at the status bar, you'll notice this in a lot of the stock applications. However, not all of them. You will notice that the bar is blue instead of silver, so that is one of the key differences in iOS 6 as far as the user interface goes. In certain applications, you will notice that blue bar. All right, now let's go to weather, because we do have a big change inside of weather for iOS 6. Unfortunately, the iPad still does not have a weather application, but loading it up here, you will notice that it is more metallic than the iOS 5 version. It does look different. It still has the same functionality. However, you can still get your hourly forecast. All right, now going back, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the clock application. So let's just go ahead and bring that up over here, and we'll also bring it up on the iPad now, because that is a new addition in iOS 6 for the iPad. It pretty much looks the same on the iPhone version. You can see that the only real difference, again, is that blue bar up at the top, and like I said, that is present throughout a lot of the different applications for iOS 6. All right, but the most interesting thing is the iPad clock. As you can see, it is a really awesome looking app with a really great interface. Down here at the World Clock tab, you can see that you have your different times, and you can actually add new times depending on where you want. You can just search for your city here, and you can also actually bring up individual clocks for a really nice interface there, and you can easily switch between your clocks just by swiping over, and it also actually gives you the current temperature for that location. So while there is no weather app, you will kind of notice that you have a little weather overview here for the different cities that you have for your world clock. As you can see, I only have Cupertino and New York in here right now, and it does give me the temperature as well as a little icon indicating what the weather's like in that location. Moving on, we also have a new alarm interface here that we can actually kind of scrub between and set different alarms if we want. Kind of gives us an idea of where the alarm sits for the day and on which day it actually is. Moving on down here, we do have a stopwatch, and this is really different from what you see on the iPhone stopwatch. As you can see, iOS 6 and iOS 5, they're basically identical. However, over here on the iPad, it is a revamped interface. We can go ahead and start, and over here we do have a timer application that does look significantly different from the iPhone version and iPod Touch version as well. You can set your alarm for however long you want. You can change the sound to be played as well. So let's just go ahead and set this sound here. And once the timer started, it does give you an overview of how much longer it actually has. You can pause it, and you can actually hit done just to stop your timer and set a new one if you want. All right, now exiting out here, we're going to go ahead and switch over to the different store applications. So let's first start with iTunes. So this is another user interface that you'll notice is extremely different. Down below here at the bottom for the iPhone version, and as you can see how it actually sorts movies and all of the content that you can buy in the iTunes app is also different. It gives a really nice look over here on iOS 6, and I actually prefer it to the iOS 5 version, and it's black as opposed to blue in this instance with a black bar instead of the silver bar. So basically they just kind of got rid of the silver bar and they either went with black or blue depending on which application you're in. So the iPad version also looks really nice. Again, this is a pretty streamlined look and it's a really nice change over the iOS 5 version. Now going back, again, we're going to go ahead and just take a look at the App Store really quick. Okay, now down below the options are slightly different, so let me show you what I mean. Over here, let's just go to Featured, and it gives you, again, that more streamlined look that we're starting to see now. And I actually prefer this over the old iOS 5 look. I just think it looks much more elegant and it looks more simplistic than the iOS 5 version. Over here, we do have a carousel type of look, and that's actually more like what you see for your iPod album artwork. All right, so exiting out here, I don't want to spend the entire time just going over the user interface. However, there are a lot of minor differences. I mean, even looking at the icons, you will notice that some of them are revamped. Now, let's actually go ahead and take a look at Maps. Now, this is really exciting, and this is definitely better than Google Maps, in my opinion, which has been present in iOS since its release alongside the original iPhone in 2007. So Apple finally decided it was time to sever the bond between them and Google and actually develop an in-house mapping application. First, I just wanted to give you guys a really nice look at this. So let's go ahead and zoom in. We're actually just really going to focus on the iPad version. Here is the iPhone interface though. But like I said, I'm mainly going to demonstrate on the iPad version simply because it's a bigger screen and it will give you guys a better feel for the new app. So when we swipe up here, just like on the iPhone, we do have the ability to drop a pin that was like in iOS 5. We can actually print a certain section of the map if we want. We can show the traffic. We can also go to standard view, hybrid view, or satellite view. So let's just go ahead and go to standard view. All right, so as you can see, it kind of sorts out different geological features as well as having different major roads. And when you zoom in, obviously the street names become apparent and you can kind of see some different parks as well, depending on where you're actually zoomed in to. And it does a really great job at getting what you need on the screen. It displays the most information possible in a less intrusive way than the Google Maps application. So also, as you'll notice down here, we have this little icon for 3D. Let's go ahead and swipe this down for the iPhone. We have it on the iPhone as well. And let's go ahead and just hit 3D. To actually enter it, you have to be kind of zoomed in a little bit. And it kind of tilts the view, and what you can do from there is you can actually manipulate it yourself, and you can zoom in, you can pan around like so with 2 fingers. It's kind of hard during this video, but you can pan around like this. And actually most of the areas right now do not have 3D mapping, so you will just see a blank map unless you're actually in the satellite view. However, as you'll notice, if I just go over and zoom in, it isn't very accurate in the 3D mode. So as you can see, everything just kind of looks flat, and it definitely isn't what you want to see inside of a 3D mode. There are only really a few places that actually support 3D. So let's actually go ahead and search for one infinity loop. Now it also comes up with suggestions when you're typing, which is extremely helpful. So it picked out one infinity loop. All right, now as I get close, you'll notice that I do not have 3D enabled right now because the 3D icon is not blue, but when I actually start to pan like so, it changes it to the 3D mode automatically. So that's a really nice feature. If you don't actually remember to enable 3D mode, it will automatically do it for you. But as you can see in the satellite view, it does look pretty decent. However, it's not 100% accurate, obviously. Hopefully they'll kind of fix the accuracy, and they'll also add more areas to their 3D maps before the final release of iOS 6. And if we were actually to change the version really quick from satellite to the standard version, you'll see that it kind of displays some white buildings as opposed to the actual detailed buildings, and also some of the surrounding scenery. So there's the satellite version, and again, there is the standard version. But the new Maps application doesn't stop there. If you actually rotate around out of the locked view, then you can simply hit the compass to go back to the standard view. And also, if you were to enable location services, which I actually have it off right now, it would find where you're at, obviously, just like the previous Maps application with Google Maps. Now, if you were to get directions, you can also do that. So let's go ahead and just hit directions. And And let's just go ahead and find a random place. These are just suggestions. We're going to hit start, and it will actually start with the directions here, and it will give you the next directions over here on the iPad. It doesn't do that on the iPhone, it just gives you the current one. You can actually end the trip, you can enter 3D mode if you want, and that kind of gives you a better perspective view of it. Now you can also hit overview up here, which zooms out, and it gives you again an overview of your route. All right, now I'm just gonna go ahead and end the trip here over here on the iPad, and I'm going to enable traffic. So this is actually something really cool, and if you notice right here, it actually says data from TomTom. So it gets some of its data, primarily the traffic data from TomTom, and when iOS 6 is actually released, it will send anonymous data from people using the Maps application to also help determine traffic and to improve the accuracy. So what I noticed is it actually doesn't show where an area is green, which is different from the old Google Maps application. Instead, it's just either red or orange depending on the traffic situation. If it's clear, then it doesn't really show anything. As you can see, we do have a dotted red line there. So from that, we can take away that this area is pretty congested. And let's go ahead and back up a little bit and see if we can find some other information. It gives you a little icon to let you know that there's a closure right there on the road. And let's go ahead and take a look. I've found 2 other different traffic notifications as well. This one just reports an incident, and a red car reports an accident. We'll see if we can actually find a red car over here. We're looking for an accident, and as you can see, we do have an accident right here, and it does notify us. Also, another thing, when you're doing turn-by-turn directions, if it notices that there's too much traffic or there's something like an accident or an incident, or if there's a closure, it will automatically reroute you. So that's a really great feature, and you can even ask Siri to give you directions. So that brings us to the next point. Siri has actually been updated to include a couple new features for the iPhone, and now the 3rd generation iPad also has Siri. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give you guys a couple quick demonstrations. Now the first one is sports. So it does have sports information. So let's just go ahead and ask it a really simple question. Who's taller, LeBron James or Kobe Bryant?
I'm pretty sure LeBron James is slightly taller.
All right, now as you can see, it gives you different information cards on whichever athlete you ask about, and it will also try to answer the question that you asked. However, if you try and ask something about a past athlete, I found that it doesn't really have information. How tall is Michael Jordan?
Let me think about that. Okay, how about a web search for?
So as you can see, it just wants to... Let's go ahead and exit out of that. So as you can see, it just wants to do a web search for how tall is Michael Jordan. So it doesn't really have information, again, on past athletes. It can also bring up scores for you. What was the score for the last NBA game?
The Heat defeated the Celtics by a score of 101-88 last Saturday. The Celtics are out of the playoffs.
Okay, so as you can see, it gives you a little overview if you ask about it, and also it gives you an in-game scoreboard as well as kind of a detailed score down below. And now that we've taken a look at the sports portion of it, let's go ahead and look at movies. So we can just ask which movies are playing near us, or we can actually ask specific questions about movies. So let's go ahead and ask Siri a question. What movies is Johnny Depp in?
Looking for movies. I found quite a few movies with Johnny Depp.
All right, now Siri did bring up some movies with Johnny Depp here, and the top one is a current movie. It gives the release date, and if you tap on it, it gives you some more information. We can get a quick synopsis here down at the bottom. We get a Rotten Tomatoes score, so they've actually teamed up with Rotten Tomatoes to provide you more information on various movies, and what you can do is also get a trailer for it. If you go ahead and just tap on it right there. And now the trailer for the movie is playing. All right, now it just crashed and it's actually still playing. That's one of the first things I've noticed with iOS 6. So mostly it's pretty much bug-free. However, it's kind of annoying right now that it continues to play. So let's go ahead and just mute it. And as mentioned, you can even get different show times for movies around you. So now let's go on to the next portion of Siri, and that's actually better restaurant integration. Find restaurants in Thousand Oaks.
I found 15 restaurants. 9 of them are in Thousand Oaks.
Okay, so let's zoom in here and kind of focus on this because this actually is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and scroll through. We do have the names of different restaurants, and if we were to just tap on one, we can get more information on it, such as the reviews here. We can see their hours of operation, as well as get a phone number. We have their website, and we have an overview on Google Maps here. So let's go back and let's actually try and find one that has reservations. And I know this one actually does. So let's tap on it. We can actually make online reservations. So if we were to tap on reservations, we can do it that way, or we can ask Siri to do it. So we can ask Siri about Mastro's Steakhouse. Make reservations at Mastro's Steakhouse in Thousand Oaks.
For when shall I make your reservation?
5 p.m.
Okay, Mastro's Steakhouse has tables for 2 and 5 p.m.
Okay, so as you can see, now it brings up the times when you're available to make a reservation, and it also just gives you the phone number again, the website, and a brief overview and map. So we can actually hit make reservations, and it will ask us to
Install the latest Open Table app before I can make reservations.
As I was about to say before Siri interrupted me, it asks you to install the latest Open Table application to actually make the reservations, and then once you have it installed, it will open it up inside of Open Table, and then from there you can make your reservations. We're actually going to take a quick look at the maps overview for different stores. Show me the 5th Avenue Apple Store in New York.
I found a number of Apple stores. 5 of them are in New York City, NY.
Okay, so if you were to click on it, it brings it up here in the Maps application, and then what you can do is get more information on it. You can also hit the Drive button to get directions, and you get a quick overview here. If you can see that, I'm going to zoom in. You get a quick overview. It tells you how many stars it has, and it says on Yelp. So like I said, another partnership they made was with Yelp to provide additional information. If you were to hit that I there, it gives you a little map overview of it. Let's bring it down. You also have the phone number, the address, and over here on the iPhone version, I don't know why it doesn't show it here on the iPad one, but let's go ahead and ask about the same Apple store. Okay, so let's bring it up here in the Maps app, and what we can do is go get more information on it. And over here we actually have the option to get reviews from Yelp. We can actually check into the location, we can add a quick tip, write a review ourselves, or get some pictures over here. So that's an option on the iPhone that you do not have on the iPad. So exiting out here, those are basically the additions to Siri and also to the new Maps application. And briefly, we're just going to take a look at some extra settings that you get inside of iOS 6. So I'm just going to use my iPhone to do this one. So let's just navigate to the Settings application. All right, now inside of Settings, you will notice that you have a Do Not Disturb toggle now. Essentially what that does, you'll notice that it places a little sleep icon up there by the time. Again, what it does is it makes it so that your notifications are muted when your device is locked. However, if you receive a notification such as a text message when you're actually using your device, it will still come through and it'll still make the sound to alert you that you've received a notification. However, once you lock your device, you will not be notified once you receive a notification until you turn off Do Not Disturb, but it doesn't stop there. You can configure the Do Not Disturb toggle by actually going into Notifications, Do Not Disturb. You can schedule it to actually come on. So for instance, if you're sleeping, you can schedule Do Not Disturb to come on at specific times, but you can also allow calls to come through even when Do Not Disturb is enabled. So essentially it's like an override. So you can allow calls from your favorites. You can actually tap on it. You can allow calls from everyone and just have all the other notifications silenced, or you can have it set to nobody, or you can set it to different groups that you've made in your contacts. So Apple did a really great job on this, and you can even have it set so if someone calls you multiple times within 3 minutes, that it will come through on that next time. So that way, if it's an emergency, you can be notified and you can actually take care of it, which is a really nice addition. Again, this is just the first beta of iOS 6. I'm sure more features for the Do Not Disturb toggle will be added in the future. Also, you have a new privacy toggle, and you can set which applications you want to use different services, such as location services, or which applications have access to your contacts, calendars, reminders, or photos. And it lets you know which applications are using what data. So now down here, we do have the option to go to Facebook and we can install it if we want. It's a really nice addition, and it's similar to Twitter integration that was introduced in iOS 5, the ability to actually connect via the notification center. And what I mean by that is when you swipe down, you do have the ability to tap to tweet if you're signed in to a Twitter account. So let's go ahead and just send out a tweet. All right, now that I've typed out what I want to say, we can go ahead and just send it out. And there we go, it was posted to Twitter successfully. All right, now the next thing is actually Passbook. It was announced at WWDC. However, it doesn't work right now, but essentially you will be able to keep your boarding passes, different tickets, different store cards, as well as coupons inside of Passbook, and you'll be able to use them for various things at different locations. All right, now closing out of that, what I also wanted to show you guys is the new share menu. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up a photo and I'll be back. All right, now this is just a screenshot that I took from inside the new Maps application, fully zoomed out to the world view, which you can do. I didn't mention that when actually going over maps, but that is an option if you want. You can actually zoom all the way out to get an entire globe view. And now let's go over the share menu really quick. So what you can do, it's positioned in the same place. You just hit the new menu here, and as you can see, you have the option to send it via mail, a message. You can post it to Twitter, Facebook. You can assign it to a contact. You can print it, you can copy it, or you can use it as your wallpaper. So this is a new menu, and you have the addition of Facebook now, again, because we have Facebook integration in iOS 6. All right, now another quick addition here is to the mail application. It's the addition of a VIP mailbox. You can actually go in here and you can add different contacts to actually have the mail they send go to the VIP inbox, so that way you can easily sort it. One quick addition to iOS 6 that I've noticed is when you actually download a new application, it places a new banner on it. As you can see there, for this application as well as the Yelp application, they both have that little new banner up there in the top right hand corner. All right, now one more thing to conclude my full and in-depth review of iOS 6. It's just what happens when you actually attach a Bluetooth device and you try and use Siri. So I'm going to hook up my Bluetooth headphones to my iPhone here and just show you guys what happens when I use Siri. All right, now that my Bluetooth headphones are connected, when I activate Siri, you'll notice down here at the bottom, I do have a new Bluetooth icon. So what you can do is hit that and you can determine whether or not you want Siri to go over your Bluetooth connected A2DP streaming device or through the iPhone speakers themselves. So again, you can change it to go to the Bluetooth device or to the iPhone. When you're at the Bluetooth device, it changes to that blue color, and when you're actually on the iPhone, it just goes dark again. So that is it. Those are all of the major features and additions, as well as the changes inside of iOS 6. And I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please be sure to rate it up and leave any comments you have down below in the comments section. Also, don't forget that I will have additional coverage on iOS 6, as well as future betas and the changes if they're significant. So just go ahead and hit that subscribe button to be notified every time I release new videos. And until next time, this is ICU signing out.